Hello everyone, my name is Lasmink, feel free to call me Las. I'm an asset creator and avatar creator for VRCHAT. And so what I'll be doing for this tutorial will be teaching you how I go ahead to rig my own hair. Now do bear in mind, for this context I made my own hair from scratch, and I have followed Darcy's YouTube video on how she makes her own hair. I think that is the most comprehensive video I've seen to date, as it's all applied to VRCHAT. So feel free to check that YouTube out. And then I do have my own Discord server, my gumroad, and also my social media down in the description as well. So feel free to check me out and my work. And without any further ado, let's go ahead right into the tutorial video on how to rig your own hair. So there are different ways on how you can rig your armatures for your hair. First, you need to pay attention to how long or short your hair is. For this instance, because what you see here on my screen is short hair. When it comes to adding the amount of bones you want for short hair, typically 1 to 2 would be enough. But if it were to be one standalone bone, unfortunately that will not move by itself. You do need 2 bones in order for one bone itself to move by fist bones in unity. So you want to aim for around 2 to 4 bones max, 2 to 3 bones for short to medium hair, 4 bones for longer hair, depending on how fluid you want that to move in unity or in game, and also the way how you were to go ahead to weight paint. So for this instance, I've already rigged this hair, and if I were to unhide the armature, you'll see that per bone row itself, if I go into edit mode, each strand of hair that I've rigged would have around 2 to 3 bones max. If it were to be 1 bone, it will not move in game whatsoever because of the way how it is. And if it were to be longer hair, I will just quickly change bone layer to show you. Longer hair for locks that I also made for myself, for this avatar particularly. Longer hair will require around 3 to 4 bones max. Also depends on the length of hair of how much you want to add, but because it's dreads, you also need to take into consideration the style, I guess the nature of hair itself. Dreads are free-flowing, they also move quite a lot, and so because of this one, probably because I'm also a very crazy person, each bone row is around 3 to 4 bones max. Normally, you don't have to add as many bones like that. I just like to do it because I just want things to move nicely in-game. But there we go. So, hair length and armatures go hand in hand. I also forgot to mention, when you start with your hair mesh and you want to identify which hairs you want to move, particularly in this hair for instance, because I made bangs in the front, I want to make sure that the bangs move when this character moves in game. In order to do so, you click on the hair itself, go from object mode to edit mode. Now you can go ahead to see the type of vertices, edge, and faces. To see different levels of orientation, you can press 1 to see vertice, press 2 to see the edge, and press 3 to see face. All 3 different versions, 3 different viewpoints, have different ways on how you can go ahead and edit the mesh itself. Now in this instance, I've already separated parts of the hair that I want to move. So say for example, I want this strand of hair up here to move, correct? I then press on the L key to mass select that mesh. And then once you selected the hair that you want to separate to rig itself, you then press on the P key to go separate by selection. Now you have a separate mesh. So say for example, you have imported a hair that does not come with an armature, or you want hair to actually move in certain segments that the armature does not provide. Say for example, when a hair is imported, it will already come with an armature root, along with the hair bones, to which this has already been rigged. But in this case, I've already made my own hair, and I've already separated parts on which ones and which strands I want it to move in game. And so when you dance, when you move around, when you talk, or just do anything in general in game, it doesn't look stiff or just really weird. So step 1, obviously have your mesh imported into Blender. Step 2 is to make sure that they are applied with a modifier called the armature modifier. You can easily find it here in this tab under the little tool icon here. Expand to add modifier and click on armature. What this does is to ensure that whatever mesh you've imported into the project, that it will be moved by the armature itself. If it doesn't have the armature modifier on and you try to rig it or to test out your weight paints and stuff, it will not move. So make sure you have this and in your object to have the armature in there. Now, because I made this hair by myself, there is no existing bone. But that means I can teach you how to rig hair. So first off, you want to go into your armature itself. Then you want to go into edit mode. So bear in mind that sometimes it's kind of hard to see which hairs that you've separated. So make sure you have them highlighted. Now how you go ahead to add a bone to start rigging is to start off with the hair root. So in order to add a hair root, you do Shift A to create a new bone. And because you're already in the armature itself and you're in edit mode, this comes as a group. Now, when you click on this bone, make sure you click on this little green man. No, this bone. Make sure you click on the little bone right here and name this hair root. And because I named my hair manhua, I'll call it manhua hair root. And this is just easier for you to be able to identify what hairs have been attached to what, because a hair root also Because a hair root will also be important in Unity when you go ahead to apply your fizz bones. Typically, you don't want to select multiple bones inside Unity itself and apply them individually. You normally just select the hair root itself and apply the fizz bone from there, and that will apply to all the other bones that has been parented to that bone. So once you've established your hair root, you then want to make sure that this is parented to your head. In order to do so, click on the hair root, and then Shift-click the head bone. Then what you want to do next is to right-click, go Parent, Make, and Keep Offset. And so if you see the dotted line here, it shows that it's been parented. Voila! And now you want to go ahead to start adding bones to rig hair for it to move in-game. In order for you to do so, again, go Shift-A to create a new bone. You can press on the S key to size it up and down in size however you want. Another hotkey is the R key to rotate, and the G key to grab. So in this instance, I'm going to be sizing this bone to this hair strand that I want to move in game, and align it as close as you can. It doesn't have to be exactly one-on-one, but it will matter when your fizz bones have been applied. So do bear in mind that when you want to extrude a bone, you can click this little ball at the end of the bone and press E to extrude. It creates a new bone that gets attached to this original bone that it came from. Now, what I taught from earlier on how to parent your bones is to make sure you click on the bone, click on the head root, or the hair root right here, go right click, Parent, Make, Offset. Now sometimes you might see this, and because this has been parented to that root, you will realize that this bone is now free floating. That is fine. If it does, just press X to delete. And because this hair, you want to rotate it. So you can go press R to rotate and just manually rotate to the angle that you want. And just realign if it gets out of place. Now press on this bone again and extrude. Now you have a bone that gets attached. So that is the first, I guess, row of hairs. First row of hairs that you want to rig. Now going back into weight painting. Ta-da! Because I've already had this piece of hair that has been separated, I can then go into weight paint mode. I click on the bone, and click on the piece of hair that I want to rig. I go from object mode to weight paint. And now you'll see that there are no color whatsoever. Your intensity of weight depends on the intensity of color. And in order to start weight painting hair, you click on this bone called, this brush called gradient, and you go from linear to radial. This is an easier way to apply weights when you go ahead to do rigging, especially not just in hair, but also in armature as well. And allows you to click more freely instead of having to shift click or control click to select different individual bones. Now, because with every hair root in this section that is closest to the head. You want to make sure that is weight painted to the head as well. So first you want to click on the head bone, and then again make sure you're in the gradient tool and just click and drag, and you'll see that weight will be applied the further you drag it out because it's based on radius. You can also increase or decrease the weight. You can also increase and decrease intensity of the paint itself. So because it's to the head, make sure that is almost to orange, reddish color. You can also increase and decrease the radius again. And if you think that's too much, you can then just decrease the weight itself, click and drag to remove any excess area that you don't want to be weight painted. Once that's been weight painted to the head, now you can go ahead to click on the first bone. Now you can just randomly, well, not randomly, but just go ahead and adjust to the way that you like. Now do keep in mind that when you're rigging hair from scratch, the type of weight that you want to apply has to be quite light because hair moves quite slowly, right? It moves with flow. It will look more janky if you apply more weight than it should be. So what you can see right here is that a light green color allows more room for the mesh to bend. If I go for a more intense color, do you see how it bends more harshly, particularly in this area? You don't want that. So just make sure that when you weight paint, it is green because it looks nicer that way. And it doesn't look crunchy when you move in game. So now I finished rigging this part. My workflow would be just go ahead and merge it back to the main head because I'm already done with the strand. So in order to merge a mesh that you separated from the hair itself back into the hair, you first click on this, then shift click the main hair, then go Ctrl J to join it back to the main hair. Now that's done, I can now click to check other highlighted hairs that I've separated that I'll be rigging. And that's about it. That is how you rig hair. And I'm just gonna go ahead and speed run the rest of the process. Alright, and that concludes the YouTube video. Hopefully this tutorial makes sense. Obviously I'm going off script. I'm not really having anything to reference off of. This is all purely based on my own experience and my workflow. If my workflow is confusing, I do apologize, but I will try my best to explain each step that I think. And if you have any questions you'd like to ask me, do feel free to leave in the comments section below, or shoot me a message in general chat inside my Discord server, as I'm very active in there, almost chronically active. And for any YouTube tutorial in the future, I will be re-recording this probably from my own VOD on Twitch stream, which I'll be streaming every Friday 5 PM EST, to showcase my own workflow and also how I make my own assets whatsoever. So yeah, I'll see you around. Bye bye.